Every night, while you are completely unconscious, your brain runs a cleaning cycle you never feel. It is not a metaphor. There is real plumbing, real fluid, and a real schedule, and most of it only runs when you sleep. So what exactly gets cleaned? Why does it wait for sleep? And what happens when you cut that cycle short? Let us walk through it. Start with a simple fact. Your brain is only about 2% of your body weight, but it burns around 20% of your energy. Running that hot, all day, every day has a cost. Like any busy engine, your brain produces waste as a byproduct of its own activity. Some of that waste is just spent fuel, but some of it is leftover proteins, the crumbs of a brain that never really clocks out. One of those proteins has a name worth knowing: beta-amyloid. On its own, a single piece is harmless and normal. The problem is buildup. When beta-amyloid is produced faster than it is cleared, the pieces can start to clump together between your brain cells. So the real question is not whether your brain makes waste. It always does. The question is how it keeps the books balanced. How does it clear faster than it clogs? In the rest of your body, this is the lymphatic system's job, a network of vessels that drains waste and fluid away from your tissues. But here is the catch. For a long time, scientists thought the brain had no lymphatic vessels of its own. So how does it take out the trash? The answer starts with a clear liquid called cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF. It surrounds your brain and spinal cord, cushioning them like a bath. Around 2012, researchers described a clever route. CSF flows into the brain along the outside of blood vessels, using them like built-in pipes. Once inside, the fluid sweeps through the narrow spaces between brain cells, mixes with the waste sitting there, and carries it back out toward drainage channels. This whole pathway leans on the brain's support cells, called glia, and on tiny water channels they carry. So the researchers gave it a name: the glymphatic system. Think of it as the brain's own rinse cycle. Not lymph vessels exactly, but a fluid-powered cleaning route that does a similar job. One honest note: the glymphatic system is a young and active area of science. The broad picture is compelling, but the exact details and how big the effect is in people are still being studied and debated. What is clearer is this: this rinse cycle does not run at full strength around the clock. It has a preferred shift, and that shift is sleep. So why sleep? Why not just clean while you are awake watching television? While you are awake, your brain is flooded with traffic. Signals firing, blood flowing, attention everywhere. There is simply not much room for a deep rinse. Then you fall into deep sleep, and something striking happens. In studies of mice, the cells in the brain appear to shrink back. As they pull in, the space between them opens up. In that mouse work, the gaps widened by as much as 60%, giving fluid far more room to flow. In those same experiments, the brain cleared a tagged version of beta-amyloid noticeably faster during sleep than during waking. That was in mice. But in 2019, a human study using brain scanners watched the live action during sleep, and it was remarkable. As people dropped into deep, slow-wave sleep, large waves of cerebrospinal fluid came pulsing into the brain, roughly once every 20 seconds. Each slow brain wave was followed by a retreat of blood, and then a surge of fluid rushing in to fill the space. Electrical, blood, and fluid, moving in lockstep. The headline is the stage. Not light sleep, not dreaming, but deep, slow-wave sleep seems to be when this fluid movement is strongest. The deepest sleep does the heaviest lifting. So what happens when you do not get that deep sleep? This is where the research gets your attention, and where we have to be careful with our words. In one study, healthy adults were kept awake for a single night. Brain scans afterward showed a measurable rise in beta-amyloid in memory-related regions. One night, one protein, a small study. It does not prove harm on its own, but it is a striking hint that sleep and clearance are genuinely linked in people, not just mice. Now zoom out across a lifetime. As we age, deep slow-wave sleep naturally shrinks. By later adulthood, many people get only a fraction of the deep sleep they had as teenagers. And across multiple studies, people who get less deep sleep tend to carry more amyloid in their brains. The two travel together. It may even be a loop. Poor sleep may allow more buildup, and buildup may further disrupt sleep, each one feeding the other over years. Here is the part to hold on to. Traveling together is not the same as causing. We cannot yet say that poor sleep causes Alzheimer's, or that fixing your sleep will prevent it. And remember, the brain cleaning model itself is still being argued over. Some recent studies even question how much of this clearance really depends on sleep at all. So no overclaiming. What we can fairly say is this: good sleep is strongly associated with a healthier brain, the biology is plausible, and the downside of protecting your sleep is essentially zero. Which brings us to the practical part. If deep sleep is when your brain does its housekeeping, the goal is simple: get enough of it and protect its quality. First, give yourself the runway. Most adults need 7 to 9 hours. You cannot reach much deep sleep if you only allow yourself 6. Second, keep your timing steady. Going to bed and waking up at similar times trains your body to fall into deep sleep more reliably. Third, set the stage. A cool, dark, quiet room helps you sink into and stay in the deeper stages instead of surfacing all night. Fourth, watch the late-night saboteurs. Alcohol and heavy late meals can blunt deep sleep, and a late screen-lit room can delay it. Small changes here add up. And one that gets missed: if you snore heavily or wake up gasping or exhausted, ask a doctor about sleep apnea. Treating it can restore the deep sleep you are losing. So sleep is not your brain switching off. It may be your brain doing some of its most important work. Protect your deep sleep and let it do that work. If this was useful, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.